Hello there, good evening and welcome. This is ABUJA Dispatch. Like we always say on this program every week, it is a platform that is specially created to bring into your living rooms those events and issues, and indeed those characters that have shaped the entire landscape of the federal capital city, Abuja, in the last 1 week. Adegboye Garogbodo is my name. Let's start off with those events and stories that made up our headlines in the outgoing week.
Nigerian youths must take up the mantle of leadership in the country and be prepared for huge responsibilities of the nation. President Muhammadu Buhari made this call when he received the All Progressives Congress APC youth leaders from the 6 geopolitical zones in the Aso Rock Villa. The president advised the younger generation to keep a broader view of the country as one entity and continuously de-emphasize ethnic and religious background in nation building. On his second tenure, the president assured that he would be more firm, focused, and relentless in delivering results, especially in securing the country, stimulating the economy to work for all, and fighting corruption. In his remarks, National Youth Leader of the APC, Comrade Sadiq Shuaibu Abubakar, congratulated the president, assuring him that the youths will continue to support his policies and vision of greatness for the country.
The House of Representatives has directed the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission to put on hold the planned increase in electricity tariff until proper consultations for approval are made by relevant stakeholders. Chairman House Committee on Power, Honorable Magaji Ali, gave the directive during a public hearing on the publicized Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission's new electricity tariff organized by the committee in Abuja. Honorable Aliyu, who frowned at Electricity Regulatory Commission, Nigeria Bulk Electricity Trading, and other relevant stakeholders, stressed that the committee would not allow them to charge Nigerian people different charges for electricity usage, adding that the use of power for different purposes is the same in all parts of the country. The managing director of NERC, represented by a general manager, Shafuddin Mahmood, had told the lawmakers that the increment was calculated based on prevailing economic realities. It would be recalled that the NERC had publicly announced the planned increment in electricity tariff, which is expected to take effect from April 1st, 2020, and is already being charged in various cities in the country. The Supreme Court has in a unanimous judgment sacked Emeka Ihedioha as governor of Imo State. A 7-man panel of the Apex Court in a unanimous decision held that Ihedioha did not win majority of votes cast at the March 9 governorship election. In the judgment read by Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, the court accordingly ordered INEC to withdraw the certificate of return issued to Ihedioha and issue a fresh certificate of return to Hope Uzodinma, candidate of the APC, on grounds that he won majority of lawful votes cast at the polls. The court held that the lower courts erred in law when they rejected evidence tendered before them to the extent that votes from 388 polling units were not credited to the APC Hope Uzodinma. There were a total of 3 appeals challenging the outcome of the March 9 governorship election. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has scheduled Monday 20th January 2020 for the delivery of judgment on the appeal on the Sokoto governorship election, same day that of Kano will be decided.
Following the recent upsurge of killings in Plateau State North Central, the state governor Simon Lalong has called for caution on the parts of the affected villages as all efforts are on to curb the acts of cattle rustling that led to the unnecessary deaths in the state. Addressing State House media men after his brief meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari, the governor said his prompt intervention through physical presence in the affected areas prevented reprisal attacks, which could have been more devastating. Meanwhile, on the heels of the recent initiative of a regional security outfit tagged Amotekun, set up by Southwest governors, Lalong, who is the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum, revealed that meetings are ongoing as several committees are at present working on how to address the peculiarities of the security situation in the entire region. Reports have it that more than 20 people were killed in the latest attacks in Plateau State.
Welcome back. The All Progressives Congress-led administration has continued to have its focus of governance on the tripartite areas of rejuvenating the nation's economy, fighting against corruption, and ensuring adequate security. As 2020 fiscal year rolls in, the pull gauge of Nigerians' wishes from the government centered on those critical areas of their national life, with the creation of better economic environments topping the ladder. This is the focus of our report on Dateline this week. Watch this.
Year 2019 was indeed full of mixed feelings for many. The country's economy experienced little improvement amidst worsening inflation and unemployment. As the new fiscal year beckons, Nigerians have set their expectations for the current administration on job creation, improved power supply to drive domestic use, and also hopeful of a better economic environment in the 2020 fiscal year. They believe that great expectations also lie in the government to focus on key areas to create the desired socio-economic changes that would stimulate the development of a nation as well as affect the lives of the citizens positively.
People are so concerned about what value that government can give to the electorate. Emphasis are so much on power, roads, health, because he's a healthy man. He's the one that can look for job, one that can go to school, one that can even talk about power. If you are not healthy, you will not be able to do anything. And again, to education. Education is very, very key in fixing this country.
Government is there to cater for the needs of the people. And if the people say this is where it hurts, government should listen. That's all we are asking for. You know, there are basics Nigerians are not difficult. Our needs are simple. You know, if you can get the basics, good health, education, you know, you are secure, you feel secure when you are asleep and all that. Our needs are basic. And then good environment for those that are in business, you know, multiple taxation, cut off. That's all.
This year, I would, for the budget cycle, I would want Nigerians to get much more involved in development, in doing things that will make them take their own chunk of the national budget, because nobody will just call you and say this is budget thick. But if you are doing something like you start a small business, you are an artisan, you are a service provider, you'll be able to collect your own share. So the youth that are lying idle, not doing anything, I would really appreciate it this year if they can take responsibility and either start a trade, learn a business, or do something that will make them get a share of what the government is giving out.
Going by the internationally reputable NOI Pearls gauge, the top 3 areas most Nigerians want the government to focus its attention on in 2020 are the economy, which represents 70%, job creation 69%, and electricity supply at 62%. Others include education 55%, infrastructure development 38%, healthcare 29%, agriculture 23%, and security with 7%. However, the NOI polls said that during the course of the survey, most of the respondents lamented the increase in cost of goods and services in the country, especially food items, adding that the average Nigerians are yet to feel the impact of the increase in the nation's GDP. It is also evident that with regards to job creation, 69% of Nigerians want the government to channel its resources to ensuring that it creates more jobs for its citizens in 2020. This will go a long way in reducing the level of poverty and the number of dependent people, as well as in reducing the crime rate in the country.
I would like to call on the government to focus more on roads, because traveling by road has been a problem in the past. And so I would like to see us moving further in 2020. This is a jet age where we expect people to travel with ease. We expect good connectivity from one city to the other. So I will call on government to please match their words with action. They said they have started a lot and want to see that happening. Whenever people travel, let them travel with ease. Let's see lower cases of robbery or zero cases of robbery and zero cases of potholes on our highways.
Now, according to the National Bureau of Statistics report, the unemployment rate in Nigeria increased to 23.10% in the third quarter of 2018 from 22.7% in the second quarter of 2018. Meanwhile, Opinion on Power revealed that 62% of the respondents expect the government to significantly focus its attention on the sector, considering that the sector has faced huge challenges over the years. The status quo in terms of electricity generation and distributions are still inadequate considering the country's population. Adequate electricity will suggest that Nigerians will be empowered to work from the domestic level and the cottage industries through the small-scale and medium industries to employment in the large-scale manufacturing complexes.
I'm hoping that things like biometrics, having an idea of how many Nigerians we have in Nigeria, like data collation, can be taken care of this year. This is because it helps for better organization. When you're able to know how many people you're catering to, you'll be able to have an idea of what resources to channel towards such people.
The federal government and concerned stakeholders must place a high priority on ensuring that challenges surrounding these sectors that Nigerians have singled out are drastically improved upon in order to foster development across board in the country.
Welcome back. Of all the agencies that make up the nation's security architecture, the Nigerian police force remains the most visible in terms of their civil engagement with the Nigerian people. Meanwhile, like in other sectors of the national life, year 2019 was a challenging one for the Nigerian police. Despite receiving criticisms from some sections of the society, the Nigerian police still prides itself to have recorded notable successes in 2019, notwithstanding the enormous challenges bedeviling the force. These issues were frankly echoed in our next segment, Split Views, with the first public relations officer, Mr. Frank Mba. Join us again. Thank you and welcome to Split Views segments of our program Abuja Dispatch. And on Split Views this week, we have the pleasure of welcoming to our studio the first public relations officer and deputy commissioner of police, Mr. Frank Mba. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
2019 was quite a challenging year when you talk about security sector, particularly when it comes to police operations. Now, what will you consider to be the high points of the year and maybe the low points?
Let me agree with you. Let me accept your premise. Or let me start by admitting to the fact that 2019 was indeed a very challenging year for us. It was challenging for so many reasons. The first is the fact that you remember that the current Inspector General of Police, IGP Mohammed Abubakar, was appointed on the 15th of January 2019. He actually eventually assumed duty properly on the 16th of January 2019. As at the time he became the Inspector General of Police, the nation was preparing for a major general elections. The entire political landscape was in high political pitch. And a lot of people wondered how this Inspector General of Police, who is just coming on board a few weeks to the conduct of the general election, will be able to galvanize the security architecture and be able to deploy properly for the elections. And so that was the first major challenge. There were a lot of critics, there were a lot of cynics who people were really not too sure because the general election was just a few weeks away. The IGP quickly settled down, and he was able to put a very robust security arrangement in place. And as we all know, that election came and went peacefully. We were able to prove all the doom's predictors wrong. And the moment we crossed that Rubicon, we knew we are set for high places.
In 2019, we had the general elections which took place in February, and the Kogi and Bayelsa elections which took place later in the year. Now, these engagements, created a lot of opportunities for people to really measure the professionalism of the Nigerian police. Now, what will you consider to be the lessons learned by the police, when it comes to civil engagements? Like a few days ago, if you could remember, Mr. President more or less gave a marching order to the INEC boss and the IGP concerning the rerun elections which will take place this month and probably early next month across the country. Now, what do you consider to be the strategies or fresh strategies that the Nigerian police are putting in place, probably to give Nigerians a new story to tell when it comes to, handling of elections in the country?
Let me put this way. My position is a bit different. The Nigerian police force is more than the same family. From the inception of this republic, 1999 till date, the Nigerian police force has continuously provided security and policed the democratic processes, the electoral process, secured INEC materials, the voting centers and the collation centers, and the rest of the processes involved in not just electioneering, but also the voting process. We did it in 1999. We did it 4 years later. We've done it so well from then till now. But in spite of that, every single electoral cycle is a learning process for us. At the end of every election, we try to do a post-election studies, call it a post-mortem of the security arrangements, the high points and the low points. We look at the things we've done well. We try to consolidate them, consolidate on them on future elections. Sometimes, first of all, we collate them and mark them as best practices, and then we try to replicate them in future elections. Those areas where we believe very honestly that we didn't measure up to our expectations or up to the expectations of our employers, who are the Nigerian people, we ask ourselves hard questions and we try to look at how to improve on them in subsequent elections. And that's why you've seen that consistently over the years, we've continued to tinker with some of our deployment processes and strategies. While over the years, there are some of our deployment strategies and processes that have remained more or less permanent, because we have tested them, we have seen they have worked so well, and then we have retained them as best practices. For me, the high point of the election was the general election that was held in the beginning of the year. The Kogi and the Bayelsa elections were two elections that very seriously gave not just the police, but also INEC a whole lot of challenges. But at the end of the day, the elections have come and gone. Lessons must have been learned. And we look forward to subsequent elections. We look forward to policing of subsequent electoral processes. And we look forward to even better security arrangements for future elections. The admonition of the president is timely. And the good thing here is the president is in sync with every well-meaning Nigeria in the fact that we must continue to improve on our electoral processes. That's a task for all of us. But like I will always say, anywhere, anytime, any day, INEC and the police and other security agencies alone cannot deliver a free and fair election. The political parties, the politicians, particularly those who are candidates standing in for these elections, must also be ready to play by the rules.
You will agree with me that the calls for community policing has been a very loud one across the polity in recent times. Now, even recently, the governors of the southwestern part of the country inaugurated or started what many people call a new initiative in community policing, this Operation Amatekun. Now, how is the Nigerian police getting ready to imbibe community policing into their systems? Because it is clear that is where we are going as the way, is the way forward of the Nigerian situation right now.
Our position has always been that security is a business of all. And government at all levels, both at the federal, state, and local government levels, must work together, work with the people, and work with the law enforcement community to actually ensure the provision of adequate security and safety for our people. The IGP is a firm believer in the concept of community policing, and he has continued to galvanize and mobilize stakeholders across the length and breadth of the country. Security summits we organize at geopolitical levels, and we have had similar security summits in the Southwest geopolitical zone, Northeast geopolitical zone, Northwest geopolitical zone, and South-Side geopolitical zone. This year, we plan to hold similar conferences and summits in the Southeast geopolitical zone as well as the North Central geopolitical zone. And what we've achieved using those platforms are to mobilize the people and get their buying in into some of our programs and projects and anti-crime programs that we are pursuing, and also get the citizens to begin to set the agenda for the police, work with the police, and work together for the nation.
Thank you, Mr. Frank Umba, for coming to Abuja Dispatch this week. You have really spoken well. Thank you very much, sir.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
We're glad that the Nigerian embassy in Beirut was able to rescue Omolola, whose video went viral, a victim of trafficking in Beirut. And we really have to thank our ambassador, the staff of the mission. What happened was, since there was a way to communicate with her, they actually went to the place and was able to bring her back. Now, she worked for several people, but the boss, whose picture has been out, actually has to provide a ticket as well as provide a passport. That's part of the rule for her to return home. And we're glad Omolola is back. But here's the thing. There are many, many more that have been trafficked,
that are stranded, even in Lebanon. So really, those behind trafficking need to be arrested. But that really will be the responsibility of NAPTIP, which I'm sure NAPTIP is working on. But there has to be like a multi-agency approach. Now, I would rather describe it as an epidemic. There are thousands still stranded in Beirut, and the embassy has been bringing back, them from time to time. But really, the key thing is, as long as the traffickers are walking about freely, we still have a problem.
Thank you for allowing us to share your moments on Abuja Dispatch tonight. A week from now, we bring you another refreshing package. Same time, same station. Adegboye Garogodo is my name. Have a good night.